Making a waste-free future happen together. Your partner for change. CalRecycle is advancing world-leading reforms to cut waste and build circular use systems for all materials. Join California's climate fight and shift to a circular use economy. CalRecycle's monthly public meeting starts now.
All right, we're taking live public comments throughout the meeting, so please raise your hand in Zoom or call in now if you have comments on the upcoming agenda items. Director's report, statewide outreach and engagement, packaging, textile, and paint producer responsibility updates, and grants and loans. Now let's take a look at some of CalRecycle's engagement highlights over the last month.
We've recycled 500 billion containers in California. And while the beverage container recycling programs had to be modernized a couple of times, I think that number really speaks to not only what can happen through your investments in recycling, also the will of Californians to actually bring your beverage containers back.
Now is a good time also to talk about those leftovers.
Yes.
We love a good leftover, but how about those responsible ways to contain those leftovers?
Right. Yeah, that's something great to keep in mind. As we're kicking off the summer, so put together a shopping list.
Yeah.
And also, you can use reusable containers to freeze any leftovers or share them with friends and family. So that not only saves a lot of money, but it prevents a lot of food waste, and it makes a big impact for our community.
I'm going to be talking about composting today.
We're showing them how they can do simple composting techniques while they're out doing their summer activities and even at home.
Yeah, it feels weird.
My heart is full to witness these little ones be out here and learning about it, but also playing with them, and just taking in that knowledge about composting, what that means for us, just as humans, the environment, and our world.
Okay, now to our first agenda item, the director's report from CalRecycle Director Zoe Heller. Good morning, Zoe.
Good morning. Good to see you all. We have a packed house today. Can you all hear me okay? Uh-oh. Testing. Better? I can just shout into it. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining. Appreciate, we switched and seem to maybe be a good thing. So maybe we'll keep that up. Okay, so we have a lot to cover today. We're excited to share that on June 18th, Cali PA Secretary Garcia established the California Environmental Youth Advisory Council, a new pathway for young people across the state to take action on environmental protection. Katrina will be sharing more details on that in just a bit. And we have an exciting update on our statewide Recycling Reimagined outreach campaign focused on organics and beverage container recycling. I'm hoping that many of you have seen some of our ads or heard them. I was really excited watching a World Cup game and seeing a Recycling Reimagined ad, so getting some good outreach there. So California just wrapped up its Student Social Media Ambassador Partnership, which helped elevate youth voices to get our message out to over 244,000 people. I'll pass it back to Michael for a closer look at the numbers and the content created from these students across the state of California.
Thank you, Zoe. With that, we want to highlight California's Recycling Reimagined campaign, our statewide public outreach to help Californians understand how to redeem their bottles and cans for CRV and how to recycle their organic waste at home. A key part of the campaign was our partnership with Grades of Green for a Student Social Media Ambassador program. And if we transition over here, so it's 35 students, actually composed of high school students and college students from across the state participated and shared how they recycle and compost in their everyday lives through social media posts. As Zoe mentioned, hopefully you all came across some of those advertisements on social media. We had over 232 applications, and we are represented by 100 different California schools and institutions. Students created content that generated over 244,000 impressions with strong engagement. And we had more than 9,600 likes, 985 comments, and 1,692 shares across our social platforms. The campaign also helped CalRecycle connect to more Californians, and that brought us 2,894 new followers across our platforms, that being Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok. Now let's take a look at one of those student social media posts and a video message from another one of our participants.
You have to compost. What if I do it wrong? Isn't it gonna smell? Where does it even go? Isn't this complicated? Guys, composting is not that hard.
What?
Composting just means leaving food scraps out of the trash. At home, we compost in our garden bed. But some people use a green bin or a compost bin. When food waste goes to the landfill, it releases harmful gases that fuel climate change. Composting keeps that waste out of landfills and lets it break down naturally instead. And when enough of us make that small switch, it actually adds up to a real climate solution. And that's why composting matters right now. It's one of the most simplest ways we can show up for the planet.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Polk. My pronouns are she, her, and I was one of the ambassadors for the Grade to Green and CalRecycle Student Social Media Ambassador Program, and I'm based in Long Beach, California. Throughout the program, I had the privilege of learning directly from the CalRecycle team about the ways composting and recycling is becoming more accessible for all Californians. And in my experience, SMAP was an amazing program. We were translating these complicated policies that the public would not have seen on their algorithm and turning them into more engaging and digestible content. As an environmentalist and a content creator, we definitely need more programs like this, and it's a great way to amplify both youth voices in creative and sustainability spaces. The environmental movement is multifaceted and it requires the work of everybody, young, old, STEM, humanities, etc., to envision a greener California.
All right, so special shout out to all the students that participated and to Grades of Green for helping us connect with our student social media stars. Be on the lookout for future posts from special collaborations with these students. Along with that, you can find more resources and campaign materials on the Recycling Reimagined website. And be sure to follow us at CalRecycle. We're all over the place, so make sure you check us out on our social media platforms. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Environmental Justice, Tribal Relations, Education, and Outreach Deputy Director Katrina Lenny Koenig for updates.
Thank you, Michael. So CalRecycle is excited to support California's new Environmental Youth Advisory Council. This new council will provide a platform for young people to advise CalEPA and its boards, departments, and offices, including CalRecycle, on key environmental issues and programs. CalRecycle's Office of Environmental Justice, Tribal Relations, Education, and Outreach will coordinate the council's day-to-day operations. And thank you to Sophie O'Meara for leading that work. The application period is set to open from August 12th through September 21st. California residents and tribal youth between 14 and 20 years old are eligible to apply, with at least one seat reserved for California Native American youth. Applications will be available at calepa.ca.gov/youth council, and you can subscribe to CalEPA's Youth Council email list for updates. Let's turn to Division of Circular Economy Deputy Director Michelle Martin for reform and program updates.
Thanks, Katrina. Good morning, everyone. We have a few plastic pollution prevention SB 54 progress updates today. CalRecycle released applications for local jurisdiction and recycling service provider extensions and exemptions in the Packaging Extended Producer Responsibility System portal. And just a reminder, you must first register before submitting an application through the portal. CalRecycle has a step-by-step instructional video on how to register on our SB 54 extensions, exemptions, and exclusions webpage. Also, Circular Action Alliance, CAA, submitted its draft PRO plan to the Packaging Producer Responsibility Advisory Board on June 15th. The advisory board has until August 14th to submit their comments on the draft plan to CAA. More information, including the link to CAA's PRO plan, is in today's agenda. Also, the Packaging Producer Responsibility Advisory Board is holding a meeting on August 7th, focusing on the draft plan, and more information, including the link to the SB 54 Packaging Producer Responsibility Organization's website, is also linked in today's agenda. Turning to the Paint Stewardship Program. CalRecycle is holding an informal public rulemaking workshop on August 4th to get feedback on updated draft regulatory language to implement the addition of aerosol coating products, non-industrial coatings, and coating-related products to the program. The proposed text, Zoom registration link, and other information is linked in today's agenda. And you can sign up for CalRecycle's Paint Stewardship listserv for regular updates. Moving on to textiles, CalRecycle's next Responsible Textile Recovery Act workshop is set for August 13th at 10 a.m. We want your feedback on informal regulatory concepts. Topics include definitions, online marketplaces, and producer responsibility organization submittals. And more information can also be found in today's agenda, including the Zoom registration link, and you can also join in the headquarters building or watch the live stream. We're planning another informal regulatory concept workshop on September 29th to get feedback on other concepts, and we'll send updates through our various listservs. Next, Branch Chief Lauren Barba joins us now with grant program awards and announcements.
Good morning, everyone. Today, we are announcing $1.4 million to 59 local enforcement agencies across California, including 3 in the border region. These grants help support agencies in carrying out solid waste facility permitting and inspections in their communities. The Local Enforcement Agency Grant Program is a long-standing, non-competitive program that provides annual funding to support consistent oversight of local solid waste facilities. We're also announcing $327,353 for 3 farm and ranch grant cleanup recipients. Upper Salinas Las Tablas Resource Conservation District will receive $46,600 to help clean up and remediate the Willow Creek Conservancy site. The Pechanga Band of Indians is awarded $145,046 for 3 site cleanups, as well as fencing and signage to prevent future illegal dumping. Riverside County will receive partial funding of $135,707 to help clear 3 large-scale illegal dump sites of household waste, commercial and construction debris, and hazardous substance. Since 1997, this grant program has provided more than $17 million to help clean up over 1,000 sites statewide. Up next, we're announcing $8.7 million available to help increase the amount of recycled glass for new beverage containers in California. We're announcing 3 changes to the Recycled Glass Processing Incentive Grant Program. The first one is only currently certified beneficiating processors are now eligible to apply. Sustainability is now part of the evaluation. And finally, an award determination process change in the event of an application score tie. Applications will be reviewed and scored by CalRecycle staff panel using the updated criteria. Applications are expected to open in August of 2026. And finally, the Local Government Waste Tire Enforcement Grant Program provides up to $6 million each year to help Californian jurisdictions enforce waste tire permitting, hauling, and storage laws. We're using the same criteria as the past cycle. Eligible applicants include cities, counties, or a city and county jurisdictions, and collaborative applications are allowed. Applicants aren't scored or ranked. Applications are reviewed only to confirm eligibility. A city must have at least 100 active waste tire generating businesses with TPIDs in CalRecycle system. A county must have at least 50 active TPIDs. Applicants will need to identify the enforcement agency that will oversee this grant, and applications are expected to open in September 2026. Back to you, Michelle.
Thanks, Lauren. So many great things happening. As a reminder that CalRecycle is accepting applications for the Beverage Container Grant Program, and let's take a quick look at a short video on how the City of Galt is cutting waste by boosting reuse.
The beverage container grant that we received, we used it for water refill stations primarily, and we located those in all of our parks throughout the city. We have about 20 that we installed using that grant. It was just a great way to give back to our community and repair some old fountains that we had, and then also install new ones. And especially with the water refill ability, it makes it a lot easier for people to not use single-use plastic. Having the water refill stations with a tracker on them was really great because we were able to get immediate data and feedback on that these stations are being used throughout the city. So when we go and look, we can see, oh, this one has 10,000 on it, which means it saved 10,000 bottles. It just shows how much waste can be used when using single-use plastic, but also just conserving water. So it's another avenue that you can use for education reasons.
The application deadline is August 11th for that grant program. And as a quick reminder, the tire incentive program applications close on August 19th. You can check out CalRecycle's funding webpage for more grant program information and latest updates. Thanks.
All right, now to public comments. Do we have any public comments in the room?
Evan Edgar, live from Sacramento. I want to say hello to my wife up there. She's sailing for world peace in Ventura, so I'm waving to her. She's on voyage. But I'm here on behalf of the California Compost Coalition about the great job you guys do on grants, and commend all the good work, all the grants you have up there. On 1383 alone, you have issued $350 million in grant money to really start 1383, and that was needed and appreciated. But as we know, there's no more grant money left. You know, Prop 4 has no money. We're Tier 3 in the cap invest money that we won't see any money there. So there's no money to come for a while. So we're really happy to what we got so far, and we're implementing statewide. Each year, CAR puts out this report, the annual report for the legislature about California climate investments using cap and trade auction proceeds. It's where I get my data from, right from CARB. It's good information. Each year, compost anaerobic digestion has the best cost-effective strategy at just $50 a ton. It's amazing. The penetration to priority populations, the amount of carbon being reduced is unbelievable. Each year inside of here, they put out how much it costs to do ZEVs for electrify, and it's about $1,000 a ton. So there's no cost-effective or affordability when we choose battery ZEVs over when we make RNG out of AD facilities. You know, that's bang for the buck at $50. So it's a great program. And with grant money going away, you know, we got to really find out where we're going from here. Each and every year, the industry puts out a request. We need about $10 million to $200 million a year each and every year for 5 years if everyone makes 75%. That was in an earlier, information from CalRecycle, and I believe it. We need that type of investment. What we have so far for infrastructure has been pretty impressive. On anaerobic digestion, you have about $86 million. And when we do anaerobic digestion, most of that biomethane goes towards renewable natural gas. And that RNG is minus 100 on the carbon scale, which is pretty impressive. And the funding has really been great. We're breaking ground in Napa after 13 years of working on that project. Down in Edco, Escondido will be up and running. You'll see that next week. So it's really a great program. And there's been about $106 million on compost, which is great. Whenever you have that type of seed money, it leverages private capital about 3.8 to 4 times. So that $86 million in AD, it leveraged so much capital that we got about $1/3 billion, about $330 million in capital is put towards anaerobic digestion, $1/3 billion. And it diverted about over 500,000 tons a year of organics, which is significant. I think we're about 25% on a way to get to 75%, but we'll find that out someday. But of that, turning that into RNG, that's about 6 million diesel gallon equivalents of RNG at minus 100 carbon negative. It's impressive. And that fuels about a 6,000 fleet garbage trucks. There's 15,000 garbage trucks, class 7, class 8, picking up trash in California each day. and 40% of it is on carbon negative fuel from 1383 waste due to the grant money that you guys put out for wastewater treatment plants. Pretty impressive. We're near zero NOx. We're getting the NOx reduction now for the state implementation plan. We do great work. We are the circular economy. We are local at 1383, and we got to keep this going. But without future grant money, the only thing we have to do is raise the rates. And the city of LA just raised their rates. It was about 35 to 40 bucks a house for a 3-cart system statewide to kick off 1383 to get to about 25%. What we're seeing to get to 75% and more, city of LA just raised their rates to be 70 bucks a household per month, 3-cart system by 2030. And that's a trend we see just to get to 75%, and that's value. It's worth it. I think you can do videos on this. I think that the taxpayer, ratepayer understands 1383 to, cut back methane at landfills, and then we make these great byproducts in order to fuel the fleet. That's value, cost effective. It's affordable at 70 bucks a household per month to implement 1383. Your cable bill is probably 150. And that's a different type of garbage. So you get 75 bucks, you can do a lot. Why I'm here today, on top of everything, is to talk about not how valuable this grant program is, but there's no more money. And hopefully the next governor will come along and see the value in carbon negative over battery electric. When CARB adopted Advanced Clean Fleet Rule, they were phasing out RNG forever. Last scoping plan to try to get CalRecycle involved with that decision, and that we need to defend all your grant money you have put into AD facilities. $250 million is out there fueling 6,000 trucks. And we're told now to get off the circular economy and go battery electric, which is 4 tons of batteries, and we only haul 8 tons, so we need twice as many trucks because of payload and duty cycle, and they're twice as expensive. So these going to ZEV, is this a really bad move? CARB was supposed to have a workshop on that 3 years ago, the future of biomethane. I tried to get, working with CalRecycle, get the future of biomethane as part of your zero waste workshops. So the only way you get to zero waste is that we got to have some type of renewable power, alternative fuels, and I couldn't get that done. I talked about it for 3 years. What's the future of biomethane? We still don't know. CARB hasn't held a workshop either, and I'm up there every quarter, like up there trying to remind them the future of biomethane, how we are a local 1383 circular economy, as opposed to digging up the Congo with slave labor on these blood batteries, importing them to China real minerals at a sweatshop to take the battery California, use it, and throw it in a landfill. That's a dirty global economy that we don't need, we don't want. So I'm at CARB testifying all the time to preserve your investment in AD. We need to do that. We have another opportunity. The CARB Scoping Plan 2027 will be kicking off in January. It'd be really great if CalRecycle can look at your AD portfolio, how much biomethane you're making, how important it is to the communities. I threw out some numbers today that are, ballpark numbers, but I'm sure your staff, with all the grant money and all the reports we do, you can get a lot better numbers and explain that to CARB. So what I'm looking for today is maybe having some type of working group with CalRecycle on the future of biomethane with this AD portfolio as we enter the scoping plan to really tell CARB that we don't want battery electric. It's disrupting the carbon negative circular economy for a global carbon positive dirty economy that's really unethical. And I think CARB has blood on their hands for promoting blood batteries without guardrails. I tell them that straight up last week. But they don't have workshops on anything about these blood batteries, which DTSC did a report and told everybody about it, but nobody in Sacramento is talking about these battery electric manufacturing, not even the environmental groups, not even environmental justice committees. And I'm just looking for environmental justice for all and preserve a carbon negative 1383 circular economy here in California. Any questions?
Thanks, Evan. One quick question, just going back to your earlier remarks on the dollar investment per year for the next 5 years. Did you say 10 to 200 million?
Good. I stumbled that one. It's 100 million to 200 million.
100 million to
Yeah,
200.
a work group of solid waste industry, local government, And even local government is fighting back on this advanced clean fleet rule because the fact that now if you contract to a private fleet, you got to go battery electric now, and they're caught off guard. That was a late hit. They're being sued. And it's really not, it's unaffordable when we see the metrics of ZEV infrastructure at $1,000 a ton as part of the cap and trade investment, and we can do it at $50 a ton to make our own fuel versus digging up the Congo. It's a no-brainer, but I'm the only guy talking about it. No other stakeholder, no state agency except for DTSC has it buried in a report. There should be a hearing on this, and we should be involved as part of the scoping plan to talk about this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your remarks. And a lot of what you brought up are conversations that we're having right now about what the next phase of 1383 looks like. I mean, you brought up a lot of good points. We've invested heavily in infrastructure. Jurisdictions have collection in place. We still have more tonnage we need to move. So stay tuned as we kind of architect what another year could look like as far as workshops, engagements, those sorts of things, so we can start thinking about what comes next for 1383. And we hear you on the biomethane. We've been getting out a lot lately to visit wastewater treatment facilities and other sites, and we're hearing on the ground the needs. And we want to be responsive and make sure that we're thinking creatively about, you know, what we do moving forward to ensure that the various goals of the administration of California are achieved without unintended consequences. So thank you for your remarks and look forward to engaging with you more on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments in the room? All right, seeing none, do we have any comments on Zoom or on the phone?
No comments at this time.
Thanks, Jessica. All right, well, looking ahead, please raise your hand in Zoom or call in now if you have comments on the following: product stewardship, mattress dealer cooperatives, pharma and sharps programs, materials management and local assistance update, waste permitting, compliance, and mitigation. With that, I'm going to pass it on over. Actually, let me make sure here. Anything here, Jessica? Are we good to go? Okay, thank you. With that, I'm going to pass it on over to Branch Chief Karen Fitz is next with product stewardship updates.
Good morning, everybody. Just a few updates today. So on our mattress stewardship program, CalRecycle received MRC's 2025 annual report and 2027 program budget on July 1st and is currently reviewing them to determine whether MRC demonstrated compliance with statutory, regulatory, and plan requirements. We accepted public comments on this item through July 8th, from July 8th through July 24th. Action is needed from our director by September 29th, 2026, and the director's determination will be presented at a future monthly public meeting. You can find more information in the public notice linked in today's agenda. Next up, we'll talk about some updates on our dealer cooperatives stewardship program. On July 6th, Circular CRV Association submitted its quarterly report for the second quarter of 2026. CalRecycle has 30 days to notify the dealer cooperative if the report is incomplete. You can find the quarterly report in the public notice linked in today's agenda, and you can subscribe to the Beverage Container Recycling Program General Information Listserv for updates about the dealer cooperative program. Next up, I have a few updates on the pharmaceutical and sharps program. The Drug Takeback Solutions Foundation terminated its covered drugs and home-generated sharps waste stewardship plans effective June 30th, 2026. This means that as of July 1st, 2026, Med Project is the only program operator in California with approved stewardship plans for covered drugs and home-generated sharps waste. Also, CalRecycle's decisions on Med Projects and the Drug Takeback Solution Foundation's 2025 annual reports and 2027 annual program budgets have been posted online and are linked in today's agenda. The summary of the decisions are shown here on this slide. Next up, we'll go to Kevin Campbell for some updates on audits. Thanks.
Good morning, everyone. Actually, I'm filling in for Deputy Director Morgan today. She had just had one point for the agenda. CalRecycle is required to review and approve or disapprove each countywide regional agency integrated waste management plan 5-year review report. This report is analysis of planning documents, which may be impacted by changes to demographics, disposal capacities, funding, and diversion programs. Santa Clara County submitted its 5-year review report. No changes are needed at this time, and this item is approved. Going to be turning it over now to Senior Waste Management Engineer Steve Santacruz and his team.
All right. Thank you and good morning. So we have an unpermitted disposal site remediation project announcement today, and I'd like to welcome up a waste management engineer, Julian Lopez, out of the Solid Waste Cleanup Program to talk more about it.
Thank you, Steve, and good morning, everyone. A CalRecycle managed project has been approved to clean up an unpermitted disposal site located with the Santa Rosa Ecological Reserve in Riverside County, with an estimated CalRecycle cost of $212,300. This project is in coordination with Riverside County Regional Parks and Open Space District and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, who are part of the stakeholders who own and manage the Ecological Reserve. The scope of work is the removal and disposal of all superficial solid waste from the site to a permitted off-site disposal facility. The department has successfully worked with CDFW on other remediation projects in the past and look to continue working with CDFW on this project. Work is planned to begin on the 3rd week of August, and we look to finish around the end of August. Thank you, and back to you, Steve.
So, and now let's watch a quick solid waste permit and waivers program explainer, followed by the July 2026 updates from Program Manager Robert Carlson.
To keep Californians healthy and protect our land, food, water, and air, CalRecycle and local enforcement agencies work together. Local enforcement agencies get community input, process permit applications, conduct inspections, and make sure solid waste facilities follow the law. CalRecycle verifies that permits for solid waste facilities, including landfills and compost sites, comply with state standards and inspections. Agreeing with the LEA that a permit is ready to be issued is known as concurring. Additionally, CalRecycle reviews approved emergency waivers and can modify, limit, or end them. Emergency waivers temporarily modify solid waste facility permits for up to 120 days and may be extended, providing relief for facility operators during disasters, and they're approved by local enforcement agencies. For waste tire facilities, CalRecycle issues and enforces waste tire facility permits to make sure tires are stored and processed safely. Scan this QR code or visit CalRecycle's website for more detailed information.
All right, good morning, everyone. We'll start with new items with a new solid waste facility permit. This is Tehachapi Recycling and Transfer Station in Tehachapi, California. This transfer processing facility with a proposed maximum tonnage of 300 tons per day and proposed operating area of 22.86 acres. Action is needed by the department by July 28th. Next, we have a revised solid waste facilities permit. Recology Yuba Sutter Integrated Waste Recovery Facility. This is for the expansion of the permitted facility boundary from 7.1 acres to 42 acres, and the inclusion of existing stormwater collection tanks to the permitted facility boundary, and updates to the report of facility information. Action is needed by the department by September 5th. Next, we have an emergency waiver. This is for El Sobrante landfill in Corona, California. The emergency waiver is for the permitted maximum tonnage and permitted traffic volume until September 30th, 2026. And this is due to the Palos warehouse fire. The next two slides provide details regarding actions taken by the department since the last public meeting and can be found on these two slides as well as on the public notice page. In addition to the permit and emergency waiver actions, I'd like to mention that on July 22nd, the department posted a notice of preparation for a programmatic environmental impact report and set a date for a public scoping meeting for small and medium compost facilities and operations related to SB 1046. This NOP, as well as information regarding the scoping meetings, can be found on our website. Thank you, and now over to Michael.
All right, thank you. So now to public comments. Do we have any public comments in the room?
Evan Edgar, live from Sacramento on behalf of the California Compost Coalition. Yeah, really happy to see this program ER today for small and medium compost facilities. We've been doing a lot of work with distributed compost in the agriculture sector to take urban greenways out to the ranches and do rotational grazing and with biodiversity and pollinators, and bringing back the ranches and get voluntary carbon credits in the open market, which are almost as valuable as the regulatory carbon market and at CARB. Exciting work to have these small and medium compost facilities really be distributed throughout California, so you don't have to haul stuff around. It really reduces vehicles miles travels. Have a ranch in your backyard. You have urban greenways. Great program. You have really good project description from September 2024 that really describes a lot that HDR prepared. When you guys did the program EIR for anaerobic digestion in 2010, it really broke the industry open. It really demystified AD, and we've been using it ever since. So that was a really great program EIR that you guys funded and executed on, and been very usable. It mentions in the NOP about having the 1383 EIR. I try to make it a program EIR for large facilities for covered area static pile. It did not. It kind of alluded to it in the background in the NOP. It talked about having that 1383 EIR take care of large facilities. I don't think it did with regards to a lot of key issues I'll be bringing up for small facilities. But it was a good EIR for 1383, but it's just not for CASP, covered area static pile for large facilities. And it would be nice to do one of those someday. I'll get into this NOP on a scope of work. They define a medium compost facility as 25,000 tons per year. And that's not correct. Within statute, the Laird Bill, SB 1045, is 25,000 cubic yards on site. And it's a big difference. 25,000 cubic yards is a nice number because that's the threshold on tier 1 at the water board. We got to get permits from CalRecycle, land use, water board, regional air board. So that's what I do. That's my day job. This is a hobby to kind of come here and do this, but I'm boots on the ground doing this statewide. So if you guys can cure this description, say 25,000 cubic yards, that'd be great. Plus you can able to process around 50 to 60,000 tons a year of green waste through an ag compost facility at this scale. So I think you don't want to really miss out on that. One of the things they mentioned inside of the 2024 paper is emission reduction credit. And that's really critical. It's been killing a lot of my projects. What an emission reduction credit is that when you go above 10 tons of VOCs per year, even with best available control technology, you got to buy offsets. And offsets are expensive in San Joaquin Valley APCD, South Coast AQMB, and Barry AQMD. $180,000 a ton. I was responsible with Kern County Public Works. That's where I started my career back in '84, and I've been going there ever since. I started a compost facility at Shafter-Wasco Landfill in 1988 with the EIR. I was happy to see last year Zoe came down to Bakersfield, and that $10 million grant went a long way because Kern County Public Works had to pay $7.2 million in emission reduction credits in order to open that facility up. I'm doing another facility in Tulare County, another large-scale facility just like Kern County, and this would be another $6 to $7 million in emission reduction credit. I can't move the project. They don't want to pay it. And somehow Kern County stepped up, and that grant money was very helpful on the backfilling. There's no grant money left for this. Very unfortunate. When I do the EIRs for each project I do, there's such a net benefit for compost across the board. Then put in landfills, co-benefits of sequestering healthy soils. It goes on and on. So the EIRs always come out on top. But with the local air districts, you're a new source. You're ground zero, no baseline. You're a brand new facility. Instead of dumping this stuff in the landfill where it emits a lot of stuff, you start fresh, you get penalized to do the right thing. We sponsored bills, the California Compost Coalition sponsored bills over the years to define composting as essential public service. And as an essential public service, we don't have to pay the ERCs. I was at a San Joaquin Valley facility ready to develop it. Because the ERCs, it killed that project. That was a $3 to $4 million ERC for a nice facility at a San Joaquin Valley. So it's pretty damning. And this is going to be the roadblock to complete 1380, 375%. So South Coast AQMD just released a regulatory finding and to make compost an essential public service in South Coast AQMD. That's amazing. We need to do it. The 2024 document talks about ERCs, but not EPS, essential public service. I think we really need to drill down on it. Jackie Oren sponsored bill AB 1045 about 10 years ago to streamline permitting, essential public service. Cal EPA published one report that was outdated, and they were supposed to do a lot, and that was one of the worst bills that Jackie Owen ever passed. You go to our office, and there's a red star at AB 1045 because it was never done. Oh, the other got green stars. She passed a lot of bills, but somehow we couldn't get anything out of Cal EPA on permit streamlining. We're not talking about evading any statement of standards. We're all in. There's a lot of benefits. We're talking about just permitting facilities. I'm going down Limonera, down to Ventura on Friday. We got a $10 million grant. You be invited to that. We're breaking ground. So that I've been on that since 2008. I was on Shafter Wasco since 1998. Yolo County, we got a $10 million grant across the causeway. I was there for 3 years in 93 to do that EIR for a project. We opened up 3 years ago. So I've been on facilities for 10, 20 years on getting these permitted. And when it comes down to ERCs and essential public service, it's a buzzkill. It stops projects. We really need your help. So with regards to this upcoming program EIR for small and medium compost facilities, we need to expand it to include essential public service and emissions reduction credits as a key issue because they are killing the projects. And I believe that it'd be nice to have some type of working or advisory group in a compost industry to help you on this program EIR. Even this NOP going out was surprised. I wondered, I knew it was coming out, but to not have 25,000 cubic yards and is amazing. And I heard there's a public meeting coming up, and like all NOPs, there should be. So any ask I have today is get a stakeholder working group to walk through this. We have a lot of expertise in the field. I'm sure York Engineering, who you selected as your CEQA contractor, is on their A game with air permitting. They're working with a California Compost Coalition on CARBs, the air toxic rule. That's going to, there's another multi-million-dollar expense that we got to do to measure thousands of different air toxics that could come off compost facilities, which we're working on. But York is the right consultant to work on it. We're willing and able. This is our one chance to do it right, and we are an essential public service. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any other public comments in the room? Seeing none, how about on Zoom or on the phone?
No calls and no Zoom participants have questions at this time.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to pass it on over to Deputy Director Katrina Lenny Koenig for a staff spotlight announcement.
Thank you, Michael. I'm excited and honored to be able to take a moment to spotlight the work of Cheyenne Lewis, who's our Environmental Justice Enforcement Liaison in the Office of Environmental Justice, Tribal Relations, Education, and Outreach. When I was at the Energy Commission, Commissioner Naomi Gallardo described the work of environmental justice and tribal affairs as heart work, and I would just say that Cheyenne Lewis embodies that every day when she shows up for communities and for the team here at CalRecycle. And if you haven't met Cheyenne Lewis or had the honor to work with her, I'm sure that you'll get to experience that someday soon. Cheyenne serves as the Cali PA Environmental Justice Task Force Liaison for the Central Valley, helping strengthen partnerships and ensure community voices are reflected in our work throughout the agency. She also supports environmental justice initiatives across CalRecycle, bringing coordination, clarity, and dedication to efforts that protect the environment and improve outcomes for underserved communities. Cheyenne also leads community outreach and engagement, working directly with residents, local organizations, and partners to expand awareness of circular economy and waste reduction programs. She brings commitment, collaboration, and a deep focus on equity to every project she touches. Cheyenne, please welcome Cheyenne Lewis.
Yes. Right. Thank you, Katrina, for the warm introduction. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here today to highlight the work that we're doing to support environmental justice communities at CalRecycle and through the Cali PA Environmental Justice Task Force. This work is never done alone. Every bit of progress, every relationship built is a result of the team effort. Incorporating equity considerations and centering priorities of communities is essential to our work. I would not be able to do this work without the leadership and support of our CalRecycle team and the dedicated staff here, as well as the EJ Trio team and the dedicated staff with the Cali PA Environmental Justice Task Force who show up every day committed to uplifting the communities that we serve. I also want to give a special thanks to Katrina and Mark DeBee. Thank you for trusting me to help carry this work forward and the support and guidance you've given me along the way. None of this work would be possible without the collective commitment, and I'm proud of the progress we've made and look forward to continuing this work. So thank you.
All right, congratulations to Cheyenne. So as we make our way to the close of the meeting, we will post the public recording in English and Spanish to our YouTube channel in the next few days. And with that, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next month. Thank you, everyone.